Today I'm going to bring you tips and tricks from two of the world's top podcasters. One of them, Lee Dumas, gets over 1 million listens on his podcast each month. I'm in the west of Wales with its beautiful sandy beaches and its high mountains, and it sure beats being in an office. I'm actually recording this not sitting on a seat but sitting on a gravestone. Before I bring you these tips and tricks, there's one thing you need to understand that makes a podcast different to a YouTube channel. Podcasts are easier to produce because you've only got to edit the sound and not the video. But for promotion, podcasts aren't so straightforward. YouTube has its own search engine with millions, if not billions, of people searching every day. So if you've got the right keywords, you don't have to do any other promotion. Podcasting is different. There are many podcasting platforms and not many people doing searches. So you have to promote your podcast in different ways. You can use social media to promote your channel, but Lee Dumas does it another way. He interviews people who have their own social media channels. He gets followers from the people he interviews telling their followers about the interview. It's a very good way to get followers, so you definitely should have other people on your show. Lee Dumas earns over $200,000 a month, so podcasts can be really lucrative. He's got a course for starting out as a podcaster, and I'll put a link to that in the description below. It goes over all the steps, like what topic to choose, what equipment you'll need, and how to submit and promote your podcast. Here are the tips from Lee Dumas. Tip 1, make the podcast about your passion or interest. Like with a YouTube channel, this is a long-term endeavor that you'll be doing for several years. You'll be more excited about talking about your hobby than something you really don't care about. That excitement will show in your recordings. Wouldn't you rather get up in the morning and think about your hobby rather than work? Tip 2, niche down so you're the one solution to one problem. You can expand later. Find a need. I decided to concentrate on people who don't work online but want to work online. People tell me they want to work and travel like I do. Tip 3, find your perfect listener. Imagine you're talking to a person who needs your podcast. For example, if you're doing a podcast about training dogs, just think about one person who just bought a dog. What problems do they have and what knowledge do they need? Tip 4, do the podcast several times a week to get practice. Everything we do gets easier the more we do it. If you don't do it regularly, then you forget. With every podcast, try to improve just one thing. Tip 5, figure out any automation that works. There's lots of automation that could be done with social media. There are programs like Buffer, Hootsuite or Zapier that automatically send posts. Try them out and use the ones that suit you. Tip 6, batch process your podcasts. Lee Dumas records 8 interviews for Entrepreneurs on Fire in one day. I decided to research, then record, then edit enough videos for 1 month at a time, and I do find it's a lot easier. Tip 7, find interviewees that are promoting something. Find people promoting a book or a product or a new service. They'll be in promotion mode and happier to be interviewed. The second person is Pat Flynn. He's been podcasting for over 12 years and has earned over $6 million online. Tip 1, edit the podcast to make it more interesting. The main 2 reasons to edit the podcast are to cut out any dead air to make it flow better and to cut out any repetition. It'll make a much more compelling conversation. Tip 2, mention any podcasts so you show up as related. You can put those podcasts in notes or tags so you show up in any searches for them. Don't spam unrelated podcasts though, or you'll be penalized. Tip 3, people like stories, so tell one. If you can think of a story that demonstrates your point, it will go down a lot better than just giving facts. Can you think of an example where a problem was overcome? For example, I was in a dead-end engineering job and had many things to overcome to get out of it. Tip 4, pretend you're in a coffee shop with your listener so it sounds more relaxed and informal. Think of just one person you're talking to rather than a big group. Tip 5, use a good service like Squadcast for online guests. The sound quality is much better than Zoom. I'll put a link to that and anything else mentioned in the description below. Tip 6, look at related podcasts to reach out to. With podcasting, it's much more important to promote each other's channels, as they aren't automatically promoted on search engines. Other podcast owners are good people to interview as well. Tip 7, build an email list. With any online channel, whether it's vlogging, blogging or a product website, you want a regular audience. With an email list, you can reach out and tell them about your new content, new products or new services. Tip 8, provide value to your audience. Think about how you can really help your listeners. What are their biggest problems? How can you save them time and money? They should come first. Tip 9, your guests don't need to be famous. You can have great conversations with less experienced people. There are many people who've got interesting stories to be told. They'll probably be more eager to be interviewed as they aren't interviewed very often. Tip 10, record a video of your podcast to use on YouTube. Making a video of your podcast is a good way to get traffic to the podcast. People can find you on YouTube, but it might be easier for them to listen to you as a podcast in a car or when exercising. I do a lot of traveling, so listen to podcasts that I originally found on YouTube. Tip 11, interview forum owners to get promoted on their forums. There are Facebook groups for most topics, and if you can interview the owner, I'm sure he'll let you share it with the group. Tip 12, be careful using copyrighted music. I did have one problem with music on my YouTube channel. One place I used before, and you can get music and sound effects to use on your channel, is Storyblocks. I'll link that in the description below. I really believe that an online business is a great way to follow your passion. You can be doing what you want from anywhere in the world. Here's a video about that here.